The cynic in you is probably thinking PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale is a mere rip-off of Nintendo's Super Smash Bros. But despite the similarities, Battle Royale isn't as fun or as accessible as it appears to be. Underneath its collection of classic and not so classic characters, 4-player battles and tongue-in-cheek franchise mashups lies a fighter that eschews button mashing and over-the-top special moves for a deeper, more technical fighting experience. That's not to say it's a better fighting experience because of it though. Things are far more complex here than in even professional level fighting games. The game layers on complexity with 3 attack buttons, direction modifiers for those attacks, jumps, throws, blocks, rolls, dodges, taunts, items, and super moves. The sheer number of attack options available to you can be overwhelming, particularly during a heated battle. Getting a grasp on things is made all the more difficult by each character having a unique way of handling, to the point where learning to fight with one character rarely translates across to another. Kratos, for instance, moves and attacks much like he does in God of War, but someone like Parappa the Rapper is a trickier proposition. Chaining his moves together requires more delicate timing and demands multiple directional commands to execute uppercuts and sweeps, or to wield his skateboard to fling opponents into the air. Such complexity means that, at least initially, the only way to succeed is to try and master a single character. And even when you do, it's disappointing to find that the game never reaches the silky smooth fluid heights of a truly great fighting game. There's simply a lack of finesse in how the characters handle and how their abilities are balanced against each other and how their punches meet that makes for unsatisfying combat.
Victory!
There are other idiosyncrasies to contend with too. For starters, there are no health bars. Matches are instead won by racking up kills, either to a set goal or by simply getting as many as possible within a time limit. The only way to get kills is by building up your AP meter via combos and unleashing super moves. The higher your AP, the more powerful the move. It's an interesting twist on fighting game mechanics and changes how you approach battles. Without the constant pressure of a health bar, you can be more reckless and go on an all-out attack without fear of reprisal, especially at the beginning of fights when AP is low. The game never really approaches the sort of tension levels you might expect from a fighting game. There's none of those last second down to the last your health bar moments that are so tense and so appealing. There is, however, a certain charm to it all. Much of that is down to the game's eclectic collection of characters and some inventive and often amusing level design. Classic Sony characters like Sly Cooper, Parappa the Rapper, and Sir Daniel sit alongside more modern creations such as Nathan Drake, Sackboy, and Fat Princess. And let's face it, because Sony doesn't have quite enough lovable characters to make up a full fighting roster, there are third-party inclusions too, like Big Daddy, Dante, and Raiden. And then there are the gorgeous arenas, which are delightfully nostalgic and action-packed. They're all well designed and span a range of games from Patapon to Killzone to the as yet unreleased Bioshock Infinite. The environmental challenges they present, such as moving platforms, projectiles, and items like guns and swords, do stand at odds with the game's focus on technical prowess, but they can be turned off in versus mode, and for more casual matches, they do a great job of livening up the action. For some reason, the game's visual flair hasn't made its way over to the menus that tie the whole thing together. It's a small thing, but it doesn't inspire confidence in a game when the first things you see are flat, pixelated menus laid over ugly gradients. Like most fighters, multiplayer is where you spend most of your time, and thankfully Battle Royales works a treat. Each match is completely customizable, so you can turn hazards and items on or off, set time limits, or choose how many kills are required for a win. There's a hint of input delay online, which might put seasoned players off, but on the whole, matches are lag-free and work well. Crossplay is also supported, so PlayStation 3 and Vita players can take each other on, regardless of platform, and work towards a place on the same leaderboards, which is a nice touch. But it's hard to imagine those leaderboards being filled when Battle Royale is such a confusing proposition. It simply doesn't know what it wants to be. Its in-depth technical battle system suggests that this is a serious fighter, and it has the learning curve to match, and yet it asks you to slap competitors in the face with a fish, or avoid the march of Patapon when all you really want to do is concentrate on honing your skills. There are better, more fluid games out there for the serious fighter, and they're more accessible ones for those interested in a bit of silliness. In attempting to mix the two, PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale merely ends up being competent at both and the master of neither.